On today's episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, musical goalie chairs in Colorado continues as Mackenzie Blackwood is headed to the mountains.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, your daily NHL podcast. We are also your team each and every day. And we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's episode of Locked On NHL, we'll take a look at the Brinks truck that Igor Shesterkin just got from the New York Rangers, and some look at the statistics since Shesterkin became a full-time goalie in the league, where he ranks amongst the rest of the best. We'll also take a look at the big trade that Colorado pulled off with the San Jose Sharks as Mackenzie Blackwood headed to the Avs to try to salvage their season. And we'll also talk about Jacob Trouba. What is the plan for the Anaheim Ducks with a crowded D room already? We'll try to figure it out. My name is Seth, Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, joined by JD Young of Locked On Sharks for the Tuesday edition of Locked On NHL. And JD, before we talk about the big trade that the San Jose Sharks were a part of, let's talk about a big goalie contract. We'd been waiting on this for a while. There had been a lot of talk on both sides, and there even was a point where it seems that maybe this wasn't going to get done, but Igor Shesterkin staying with the New York Rangers, a mega deal, 8 years, $92 million, I believe are the particulars. And look, one of the best goalies.
No move clause too, especially after the Trouba full no move clause. Just want to put that in there. Full no move clause. Sorry,
he's got some protections. And you look at the statistics all the way back to when Shesterkin took over as kind of the de facto starter. The first season that he had over 50 starts, 2021, 2022. So over the last 4 seasons, Shesterkin ranks second in the league in wins behind Connor Hellebuyck. He has 118 wins. Connor Hellebuyck is 120. He is number 1 in save percentage. He is number 1 in goals against average. He has 14 shutouts, which is number 2 behind Hellebuyck. But here's the key number between those two. Hellebuyck has started 212 games in that span. Shesterkin has started 184. So he's right on his heels in like 30 fewer starts. So look, you are ponying up for a guy who has shown that he is like a game-breaking goalie. All of these numbers that he put up, he's better than Jake Ottinger, he's better than Andrei Vasilevsky, UC Saros, Sergei Bobrovsky, on down the list. He has put up better numbers than all of those goalies. And so at the end of the day, it's just about rewarding a guy who has, frankly, earned it.
100%. Like, I know that's a big number. We're going to hear from Locked On Rangers here in just a second, but like, he's good, man. Like, you pay good players, and I know the like $11.5 million feels like a lot, and I'm having PTSD as that is the exact same contract the Sharks gave Erik Karlsson. But like, I don't know how. Like, there's few players who I think are more important to their team, right? And you feel like anytime Shesterkin's out there, all the Rangers got to do is get one, and they probably got a good chance of winning that game, like, because he's that good out there, and he covers up a lot of their messes. And you saw it like over the weekend with him not there. Wasn't pretty. And I think for the Rangers, they had to do it because you can't get rid of Trouba the way they did. And we'll talk about Trouba here in a little bit. And then, 6 months later, lose Shesterkin for nothing if he decides he doesn't want to sign. I think you had to do it. Shesterkin probably could have gotten a little bit more if he wanted to play hardball. But yeah, I feel like it had to get done.
Yeah, and you look too, like those regular season numbers are outstanding. Postseason wise, he's got 43 starts over the last 4 years. 23-19, but a 2.39 goals against and a 929 save percentage, which is again amongst the best in the league.
He did his part. Yeah.
He's done his part in all of these different series. The 23 wins are second in the league, tied with Jake Ottinger. The goals against is amongst the lowest, although you've got guys like Aiden Hill who have started 19 games in that span. So it's just not the same amount of starts. But, we could sit here and talk all about what we think about Igor Shesterkin and how he fits on that Rangers team. We better go straight to the source. We've got John Chick of Locked On Rangers who has some more intel on the big contract for the big goalie.
If you're not really feeling this deal right now, chances are you've got your reasons, and one of them right off the bat might be the very simple fact that there's a lot of people out there who believe that this is simply too much to pay for a goalie, regardless of which goalie it is, which team it is, what the situation might be. $11.5 million per season for 8 years is just too much. And there is some merit to that. You see this, the deal breaks, and we find out that he is being extended. It feels like a lot to pay a goalie, even one as talented and as important to his team as Igor Shesterkin is. And I think that becomes even more true when you look at some of the other recent contract extensions around the NHL with some of the other elite goalies in the league. Guys like, Jake Ottinger, Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman, UC Saros, all these guys in recent seasons have signed extensions. And when you look at their cap hit, it's anywhere between like $7.5 and $8.5 million per season. Now, I would take Igor against any of those guys, especially in a big game. I am a little bit Ranger biased, but Igor's got the playoff bio to back that up. But the point that I've made before, and I'll make it again here, is Igor really $4 million or $3 million better than every single one of those guys? That's debatable. But I will say this, something that could alleviate the concerns that some Ranger fans have as far as paying this much for Igor Shesterkin for every single season for the next 8 years. There is the salary cap jump to consider. The salary cap has been very steadily rising the last couple of seasons here. It currently sits at $88 million for every team in the NHL this season. For next year, the estimate is that it will jump to $92.5 million. So that's a pretty substantial increase. And the way things are going, it feels like it's going to continue trending in that direction. So,
yeah. The salary cap thing is huge because we talked about a couple of weeks ago where it's like this feels like we could be seeing a huge boom in the salary cap. And while $11.5 million feels like a lot now, like in a couple of years, that's going to just be like kind of equivalent to what that 8.5 like kind of magical number that we're seeing with the goalies right now. And if I know, like it kind of reminds me like quarterback contracts, right? Remember a few years ago, Dak Prescott, oh my God, they're going to give Dak Prescott $40 million. You can't give Dak Prescott $40 million. Now, like every quarterback gets $55 million. It's going to be the same thing with goalies. Shesterkin was just the first one. And he's more than deserving to be the first guy to do that. And I know you and I are probably going to be on the same page here with two very high-end goalie prospects who are probably in a couple years probably going to be looking for big deals. And you're going to probably have to fall in line with this deal at some point. And this, like, Shesterkin's going to sit at the top because he's the best goalie, one of the best goalies in the league. And then everyone's just going to kind of fall in line behind him right now. And I think it was going to happen eventually, and I'd rather be a guy like Shesterkin than some, random good-ish goalie. So
here's the way that I look at this, and it's right in line with your thinking. Would you rather pay $3 to $4 million extra for a top flight, top tier goalie? Or would you rather have that $3 to $4 million for a middle six forward to potentially get you a couple of goals to outscore average goaltending? Because that's the important piece of this puzzle too, is there's something to be said about having a goalie that you can rely on to make a bulk of starts. Look at the Minnesota Wild, for example, and what Philip Gustafson has done this season after inconsistencies last year. And last year, the Wild they didn't really have any goalies that they trusted. This year, Philip Gustafson is the guy. And having a guy that is going to take a goal off the board pretty much every night he's in when he's really rolling, that's valuable. Like, that's the kind of thing that can lead to you winning games. And in the postseason, it doesn't matter how good of an offense you have. You've obviously got to have a good one. But if a goalie gets hot, a goalie can change the entire outcome of a series.
The great equalizer in hockey, a goalie getting hot. And I'd rather roll the dice with Shesterkin, who can get hot at any time. That money, it feels like a lot. In a couple of years, it's just going to be in line with what goalies are getting paid. So, good for Shesterkin. I love the deal. Like, again, right now it feels like a lot now, but in like 3 years, we're going to be like, man, that Shesterkin deal is looking pretty good. So
think of it this way, Rangers fans. You are paying essentially $4 million for Shesterkin because you got Jacob Trouba off the books. So there you go. You can thank me. You can thank me for that logic and just use that for the duration of the contract, because that's basically what it is. But well worth it. We're going to talk next about a team that continues to try to find a guy that can be kind of an Igor Shesterkin. And we'll talk about the surprising end to the Alexander Georgiev tenure in Colorado as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by PrizePicks. If you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action. Here's what you need to do to get going today. You can win up to 200 times your money on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. No need to win. The $50 is guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers fun weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where select player projections are discounted up to 25%. This week on PrizePicks, taking a look at the hockey board. Going with Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal, and Artemi Panarin, the bread man, for more than 1 assist. It's so simple to make my picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out fast. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly at PrizePicks. Run your game. Welcome back to today's episode of the Locked On NHL podcast. Once again, we are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day as well. Continuing our show today with another big move. This a trade as the Colorado Avalanche continue to try to find the goaltending that can get them back up to the top of the Central Division standings and the Western Conference standings as well. JD, Mackenzie Blackwood heading to the Colorado Avalanche. But before we talk about the trade, let's hear from Kyle Sullivan of Locked On Avs.
Who said this was going to be a quiet week in Colorado? The Avalanche went out and made another goalie trade, and it's another former New Jersey Devil goalie. The Colorado Avalanche traded Alexander Georgiev, Nikolai Kovalenko, a 2026 second-round pick, and a 2025 fifth-round pick to the San Jose Sharks for goalie Mackenzie Blackwood, forward Giovanni Smith, and a 2027 fifth-round pick. This comes on the heels of the Avalanche trading Justus Unen last week to get backup goaltender Scott Wedgwood, who just had a shutout against the New Jersey Devils. There's a lot of tie-ins with the Devils here. But the time of Alexander Georgiev has come to a close in Colorado. Does this answer the goalie problems that Colorado's been facing this year? Time will tell. Mackenzie Blackwood has a lot of upside and a lot of promise. Health has gotten in the way from him keeping a starting job in New Jersey. He's looked really good in flashes in San Jose. We'll see what he can do in Colorado with that epic defense led by Cale Makar in Colorado. Big breaking news as of today, but that's right, Georgiev and Kovalenko to the Sharks for Blackwood and Smith. We'll break this down on the newest episode of Locked On Avalanche, coming tomorrow.
What was your favorite Alexander Georgiev moment for the Colorado Avalanche?
That's mean. He was like really good at like when he first got there, and yes, I honestly think they overworked him. Like I was looking at how much, like he had 60 games played 2 seasons in a row. That is a lot for like, yeah. I think they overworked him, to be honest.
Well, and it's it's like you look at the logic for the Avs. They won a Stanley Cup with Darcy Kemper in net. And look, Darcy Kemper is a fine goalie. Darcy Kemper is a serviceable goalie, but the Avs team at that point had Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Gabe Landeskog, Valeri Nichushkin, Cale Makar, Nazem Kadri, on and on and on and on. And so you can outscore your problems quite easily when you boast those types of goalies, because if you look at the stats for Georgiev, like his first year in Colorado, he was really, really good. 40 wins, 16 losses, and 16 overtime losses. So I like to just say 40 and 22 because that's basically what that is.
Yeah.
2.53.
62 games though.
Yeah.
Last time, how many they play? 82. That's
a lot.
That's a lot of games.
And you look at the jump.
1970.
I mean the Avs are hoping it is, but look at the jump. So he had a 2.53 and a 919 save percentage. In 2023-2024, same amount of starts, 38, 18, and 5. So the record is still pretty good, but a 3.02 goals against average and an 897 save percentage in basically the same amount of time. And I'm just gonna it's just some simple figuring here. You give up a half goal more per game over 62 games. That is 31. I'm not a math guy.
Neither am I.
But that's 31 additional goals given up over the course of the season. And now this year, 18 games started, and he started those. He started those 17 games, like right away in the season too. Like he started a ton of games at the beginning of the season, and it was a mess. Like it just completely derailed.
Yep. It was, you feel bad for him because I think this is 100% a case of just getting overworked. So if you're a Sharks fan like myself, you're trying to convince yourself that maybe like going back to a more even workload, which you expect between him and Vitek Vanacek, who has not had a great season, especially the last month for Vitek Vanacek. If you have a more even workload where you're every other start, you're splitting it, which is kind of what the Sharks have been doing these past couple seasons. After kind of the Martin Jones era, it's been very kind of 50-50 between their goalies. So hopefully that maybe helps. But I think though for the Blackwood, which is the big piece of it, of course, right? Getting Blackwood, who has been spectacular, even if the numbers don't always look pretty behind that Sharks defense. Blackwood has been, and he's been a warrior for San Jose, and the way he has kept the Sharks in games that they had no business being in. You even go to Saturday's game against the Panthers where he makes 49 saves on 52 shots. for the game against the Devils this year. We had 19 shots on goal. He saved 19 shots on goal in the third period. Like, he has put this team, the Sharks team, on his back. And now, hopefully, with a much less workload, Mackenzie Blackwood might be able to flourish. But I do worry. I know they have, you got Scott Wedgwood. You have the wood battery back there. But I do hope that Colorado learns, like, especially with a guy like Blackwood, who has dealt with injuries that have derailed his, kind of his time in New Jersey. You can't start him 60 games a season and expect the same results. And I know the Colorado, they have been trying to kind of coupon shop the goalie the past couple of seasons, but you wonder if maybe they take a different approach here, especially with how things have fallen apart for them recently.
Well, they just need somebody to come in and not give up the first goal of the game, like within the first 5 minutes. And so if Blackwood can do that, he's going to look really good. And because it's a Colorado team that right now, I think, just needs to go on a run of games where they don't give up the first goal on like the first of 3 shots on net. That is
call that the Martin Jones.
That's debilitating to go through as a team, because every time you're on the ice, you're like, okay, we have to basically play perfect, and even then, that might not be enough. So if Blackwood can just come in and just play even, like, you don't need savior type goalie play. You just need average goalie play. If they can get that, I think this Avs team is going to be able to get into the conversation in the West. Now, is it going to be enough for them to vault up to the top 3 in the Central?
Probably not.
I don't know.
Well, maybe they catch the Stars, but because I talked about this on my show, where it's like, why? Because the big question is, like, why they do it now? Like, it's beginning of December. Why didn't the Sharks wait till the trade deadline, where they could have maybe had? But if you're Colorado, like, you're trying to save your season before you're too far, and especially with you think about it, like, the Jets and the Wild, like, it would take something almost catastrophic for them to not be in the playoffs at this point. So you've already got 2 slots locked up there between those 2 teams. So it's basically you and the Stars that are fighting for that last spot and trying to secure a wild card spot. So Colorado, they don't have time to wait until the trade deadline. Like, they were desperate to get this thing fixed. And I mean, in 2 weeks, they've totally redone their entire goalie tandem. And the hope is that they can, make this work here. But I think, though, from the Sharks perspective, like, you traded Blackwood, who, again, kind of kept you in a lot of games. This team is very much, they had a really great November. They played really well, but I think this team is you're gonna see a crater back to earth without Blackwood, maybe kind of propping them up a little bit more than he has. And this team is going to be picking the top 4, which is the whole goal for the season. Is have Becco Celebrini be awesome, Will Smith look good, like, have your young players continue to develop, get a top 4 pick in what looks like a draft where the top 4 guys are supposed to be really good. And then have Askarov come in and play some cleanup duty at the end of the season and get him ready to play next year. And that's the plan right now, baby.
You just answered the question that I was going to ask, so we don't have to rehash it. But this does open up the spot that Askarov was going to get. It was always going to be his spot. It's just a matter of the chair being full at this moment. So if you're the Sharks, it makes a ton of sense. Get some draft picks back. Feels like the Avs gave up a bunch to make this happen. But hey,
I mean, a second-round pick feels fair for Blackwood, and the Sharks basically traded a future 5th to get a 5th round that could be a 4th rounder this year. Like, I don't know, basically 3rd rounder later. I think we as fans overvalue those, and GM are like, I can get you a 3rd round pick tomorrow if you really want a 3rd round pick. Like, I can make it happen for you tomorrow. So I can get you a high interest loan tomorrow if you really need the money. Yes,
like that's how we do that. So that's that's another big move. We'll see how it impacts the Avs and the Central, but as host of Locked On Wild, I feel it is my duty to mention that the Minnesota Wilds continue to find ways to win games with players out of the lineup. And so, like you said, Winnipeg and Minnesota have distanced themselves a little bit from the rest of the Central, but Winnipeg in a little bit of a tailspin right now, 4-6 in their last 10, and the Wild just keep moving along. So,
well, it's not the playoffs yet, so you know how it is.
How dare you? How dare you, sir? We're going to gloss right over that because we are going to talk about what on earth the Anaheim Ducks are going to do with Jacob Trouba and his contract as we finish today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL in one place. And you get the hunch of a game. Maybe you feel like the Jets are going to do Jets things and totally botch an end-of-game situation. The Dolphins might come back and win it in overtime. You put $5 down on that, you're probably feeling really good today. So you can place your bet the same place where you check out live stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Final segment of today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Seth and JD hanging out with you on a Tuesday. And JD, the surprise move that kind of started off trade season.
The whole thing, yeah.
Jacob Trouba, and more importantly, his contract to the Anaheim Ducks. Now, there was, I believe, a pick and a prospect that went back the other way to facilitate. What is the plan here? What is Anaheim doing other than simply trying to get him acclimated and playing well to flip him again at the trade deadline?
Maybe. I don't know, because the reports were they were trying to put Jacob Fowler in the trade to the Rangers in his $6.25, I think, $1 million deal. And the Rangers were like, nah, bro, we're good. The cap space is more important to us, especially when you 3 hours later, sign Shesterkin to a mega deal. But like, you look at their defense now, like you have Trouba, you have Cam Fowler, $6.5 million, 2 years left of Fowler. You have Radko Gudas, Ryan Dumoulin. Like, those are just a bunch of old dudes around there, and like, I get having some veteran, like guys on the blue line to help, but it feels like they have a lot of them. And this team also has a lot of really young, interesting defensemen that you'd probably want to start getting like real ice time, like Olin Zellweger, Pavel Minchikov. Like, those guys should be playing like every night because they're your future. And I don't know, man, like, I assume they're going to have to trade somebody here, but the problem is, like, all those guys I named, one, extremely expensive. Two, they all, other than Dumoulin, they all have 2 years left on their contract. And who's going to take Fowler at 6.5 or Trouba at 8, or even, you just named Radko Gudas your captain. Like, that would be really weird. I'm also scared to death that Gudas and Trouba are just going to like murder. They're going to go like full like murdered small children out there with Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini at some point. But I don't know what the plan is for them, because like, it's not like those contracts are easy to move. I don't get it, man.
This seems to me like kind of the overreach for a franchise that has as much young talent as the Ducks do. And you go to that place of like, we need to be tougher. We need to be tougher to play against. We need to have some bite. We need to have some real fisticuffs that we can throw.
Isn't that what Radko Gudas? You went out and got Radko Gudas just for that purpose? Like, his name's the Butcher. Like,
you need more of it. His nickname is His nickname is the Butcher.
Yes, you've never heard. 100. You can Google it right now. While you're doing that.
Well,
But yeah,
I'm gonna
like
have to get a Radko Gudas jersey, I guess.
with the Butcher on the back.
Yeah,
But like, and
just
I know,
his
like,
number with Butcher.
the Butcher. Like I know they still have their all 3 retention slots. So if you want to retain on one of these deals, you can do that, and I'm sure they will. But like, and they have been playing better recently. But like, I don't know what the plan is for this team, because it feels. I don't get the plan, to be honest. I do not get the plan of Trouba, and it's weird to begin with that Trouba excited to go to Anaheim. I know Columbus had offered a deal that he turned down.
He said
and I know
no.
Columbus is also kind of in the same situation, but they've also been playing better recently as well. I know there was reports that Detroit has been interested, and that seemed, I mean, if you go back to the summer, right, Detroit shipped out Jake Wallman in a second-round pick because it seemed like that they were trying to clear cap space for a big contract like Trouba. I know Trouba's from the Detroit area, and apparently that never came together. It's just, this whole thing is weird, and they're like, even just we're going to put you on waivers to try to get this thing to work. Like, this whole thing feels weird to me, and I have a feeling we're going to, like, in a couple of years, like, we're going to get a nice 30 for 30 on this whole situation. And it's going to be great. I cannot wait. But
Trouba even said it's like a rite of passage to get fired from Madison Square Garden. It's like, I mean,
it feels like we're getting 10% of the story. Like, it feels like there is so much of this that is just we're going to get, especially if the Rangers just collapse, we're going to get that big old, like, dump the notebook article at the end of the season on just everything that went wrong with the Rangers this year. And this is going to be a nice, healthy part of it.
You're going to get, like, the investigative report into why the Nashville Predators didn't go to the U2 concert and how it propelled them to a playoff spot last year. If I look at it, just playing kind of at arm's reach GM, I look at the numbers for this Ducks team. They have only surrendered 76 goals this year, which is like top 5 in the West. They've scored 62 goals, which is one more than the Nashville Predators have for last. So they're second to last, not only in the West, but they are second to last in the entire NHL in goals. And I know there wasn't necessarily one of those guys available at this point, but I would say it'd be more prudent for a team like the Ducks to add or try to add something that can maybe help you score a few goals.
Scoring goals is for nerds, apparently.
Because Dostal has been elite this year when he's played. It'd be nice to not have to have him win every game 2-1.
Yeah, it's and even like if you look at, because I mean they have played 25, which is a little bit less, but like 2.44 goals per game. That's like just barely better than what the Sharks did last year.
Yeah.
If you're anything close to what the 2023-2024 Sharks did, you're probably doing something wrong. Like, and yes, you do have to win games defensively, but like you can't win every game 1-0.
Yeah.
And like you said, Dostal's been amazing, but you can't go in and be like, buddy, you cannot give up more than 1 goal or we have no chance to win this game. Because that's basically what you're doing when you score 2.44 goals a game. It's like we cannot allow more than 1 goal because our offense is just so anemic that it cannot overcome anything like that. So, and Trouba is not helping the offense because, he's just has not put up points the past, like, that's just not his game.
Yeah. Circle on your calendar for the FanDuel bettors Saturday, January 25th, because you'll want to take the under in that game because it's Nashville against Anaheim.
You know it's going to be like 7-8.
I know. It's going to end up being just an explosion by both teams for some reason.
Yes.
But, boy, Nashville that's a topic for another show because I can't fathom how that continues to be as big of a train wreck as it is. But maybe we'll touch on that next week, or what you could do the better option probably is to go check out Locked On Predators, because they get to live this every day. And so you'll get,
sorry, Ann and Emma.
yeah, they know what I went through last year and what you have been
trudging along. Yes,
plowing through like you've been plowing through like bitter cold snow up to your knees,
uphill both ways.
Yeah, no
20
shoes.
miles to school, no shoes. Yep. 2023 San Jose Sharks.
Everybody's just trying to do their thing, do the best you can.
He's like a nice warm jacket this time.
He's got some tea in his living room, just reading a book, or he's got, I don't know, some show on.
No,
who knows?
I was saying, celebrating in my journey up the hill. He's like a jacket this year. Like last year, I was going shirtless. This year, the celebrating is the jacket. It gives me a little bit of warmth and protection because
I gotcha.
The kid's special. Anyway,
well, Kirill Kaprizov is like a heated dome that travels with you wherever you go.
Plows the field in front of you, and you just walk.
He's a blowtorch that has unlimited range and can just heat your path. Forward.
He's that Connor McDavid heated driveway thing. So
yeah, I don't know why. I don't know where we're going with this, but
it's time to go.
Yeah, that'll do it for today's episode. So appreciate everybody tuning in as you do each and every day of the week to Locked On NHL. Make sure if you tune in for us on Tuesday that you check out the rest of the week so you don't miss out on the biggest headlines throughout the NHL, whether it be the Nashville Predators losing another game, whether it be, I don't know, somebody doing something crazy, or some team deciding, hey, we don't want to pay this guy this much money anymore. Let's just trade him. It all happens each and every day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We have new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.